Imagine a place where people have never used the internet, never watched television, never driven a car, never sent a text message. Now imagine that these people don't want any contact with the modern world. What if I told you that in 2026, there is still a community living almost completely isolated from the rest of humanity? Almost completely isolated from nearly 8 billion people. And what if I told you that anyone who tries to approach them risks being attacked or even killed? Today, we are exploring one of the greatest mysteries on Earth, the Sentinelese people. Who are they? How do they survive? What do they eat? Why do they reject contact? And what happened to the people who tried to reach them? Where do they live? The Sentinelese live on a small island called North Sentinel Island. It sits in the Bay of Bengal, part of India's Andaman Islands. Here's something that will blow your mind. North Sentinel Island is actually closer to Myanmar than to mainland India. And yet India protects it like no other place on Earth. Take a look at it on a map. The island is only about 60 square kilometers, covered by dense jungle and surrounded by coral reefs. Satellites have photographed it. Researchers have studied it from a distance. But nobody truly knows what happens inside that jungle, and the island keeps its secrets. The Indian government has made it illegal for outsiders to go there. Why? Because the Sentinelese are one of the last uncontacted peoples on Earth. Nobody knows exactly how many of them live there. Experts estimate somewhere between 50 and 200 people. Think about that for a second. A few dozen people living on a remote island completely separated from nearly 8 billion other humans. While you were scrolling through your phone today, these people were hunting fish with handmade spears. Two completely different worlds existing at the exact same time. Could you imagine spending your entire life on one island, never leaving, never seeing a city, never meeting anyone from another country? What do you think that would feel like? How do they live? Since the Sentinelese avoid contact, much of their daily life remains a mystery. But researchers have observed enough to make educated guesses. The Sentinelese are hunter-gatherers. That means no supermarkets, no farms, no delivery apps. Everything they need comes from nature. They hunt animals in the forest. They catch fish in shallow waters. They gather fruits, roots, and other edible plants. Researchers have seen them using bows and arrows, spears, and handmade tools. Interestingly, they also use metal. But where does it come from? Not factories, not stores. They recover metal from shipwrecks that have washed up near their island and turn it into tools and arrowheads. Imagine finding pieces of a ship and turning them into hunting equipment. That's incredibly resourceful. Now here's a question. Do you think a life with fewer possessions could actually be simpler and happier? Or would you miss modern comforts too much? What do they eat? What would be on the menu if you lived on North Sentinel Island? Researchers believe the Sentinelese eat fish, crabs, shellfish, wild fruits, honey, roots, and tubers, and small animals they hunt in the forest. Everything comes directly from their environment. No packaged food, no restaurants, no refrigerators, just food gathered or hunted each day. In a way, their lifestyle resembles how humans lived thousands of years ago. Could you survive a week eating only food you caught or gathered yourself? Be honest. How long do you think you'd last? Why do they reject contact? This is where things get really interesting. The Sentinelese are famous for rejecting outsiders. When boats approach, they often respond with warning gestures, arrows, or spears. But why? Many experts believe there is a very good reason. Throughout history, isolated indigenous groups often suffered terribly after contact with outsiders. Diseases like influenza, measles, or the common cold can be devastating to people who have never been exposed to them. For us, a cold might mean a few uncomfortable days. For an isolated tribe, it could be catastrophic. So their isolation may actually be one of the main reasons they have survived for so long. Think about it. If strangers suddenly landed in your home speaking a language you couldn't understand, would you trust them? Or would you want them to leave? Maybe the Sentinelese aren't hostile. Maybe they're simply protecting their home, people who tried to contact them. Over the years, several people have attempted to make contact. Most were unsuccessful. In the late 20th century, Indian researchers carefully approached the island, sometimes offering gifts like coconuts. A few encounters were surprisingly peaceful. The Sentinelese accepted some gifts but still maintained their distance. One of the best-known researchers was anthropologist Madhumala Chattopadhyay, who participated in some of the friendliest encounters ever recorded. But not all contact attempts ended peacefully. In 2006, 2 fishermen accidentally drifted too close to the island and were killed. Then came the most famous case. In 2018, an American missionary named John Allen Chow illegally traveled to the island hoping to introduce Christianity to the Sentinelese. He had been planning this trip for years. He practiced the local language, he trained, he prayed. Despite warnings and laws protecting the island, he was determined to complete his mission. And on November 16, 2018, he stepped onto that beach and was never seen alive again. His death made headlines around the world. More recently, authorities have arrested people who attempted to approach the island despite strict restrictions. The message is clear. The Sentinelese want to be left alone. The Sentinelese remain one of humanity's greatest mysteries. We don't know their language. We don't know their stories. We don't know exactly how they organize their society. And perhaps that's okay. In a world where almost every corner of the planet has been mapped, photographed, and connected to the internet, North Sentinel Island remains different. A place where people still live according to their own traditions. A place that reminds us that not everyone wants to join the modern world. A place that has existed for thousands of years and may continue to exist for thousands more, completely on its own terms. So here's my final question for you. If you had the chance to learn every secret about the Sentinelese, but doing so would destroy their isolation forever, would you do it? Or do some mysteries deserve to remain mysteries? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to see more stories like this, make sure you subscribe, because we're just getting started.